Bands are one of my favorite things to do. I hate to say favorites because when people ask me what I like best in weaving, it's a hard question. I usually say whatever's going well at the time, but bands really are one of my favorites. So we're going to show you bit by bit what some of these are, tell you maybe a few stories. But these patterned ones here, these wider ones that have a lot of pattern, I've actually developed a way on a floor loom to set this up and make the pattern picking really quite easy. So these I have woven on a floor loom, and even this one is woven with treadles on a floor loom. That's a treadle control, just like a monk's belt 90 degrees turned. There's a nice Estonian book with those. And this one is a traditional Swedish band with these little figures, also done on a floor loom, but a different kind of pickup. This one is a treadled one on a loom. This one I did on a rigid heddle. Could have been done on the loom, but I did this and this one on a rigid heddle. So you pick up the pattern by hand just with a back strap, like those rose path back straps we saw. And also this little one too, this little delicate linen one, very, very tiny. This was pick up on a floor loom. But then plain weave bands are wonderful and useful as well. And they could be woven on a little band loom. And we've got a surprise for you later on because we're going to show you our band loom. And this was done on a rigid heddle and a rigid heddle. This one is done with our new spreader tool for our own Vävstuga band loom. And so that's kind of exciting. These Estonian bands that I could also do on a floor loom. You can do them on our band loom. This is a card woven band. I haven't done so much of that, but something they did teach us in Sweden, and there's a lot that can be done with those. This is a different pickup technique that I did on our Vävstuga band loom. That's and this one too. These are both the same technique. It's sort of kind of like a rep with alternating colors in the warp, and you can do a very simple pickup that way. This one is the belt that I wear when I go cross-country skiing in my hand-woven skirt and hand-woven gaiters with just a nice simple chevron, but fancy stuff in the borders. So that's very simple to weave, but big and impressive. This one is upside down, so we're just going to flip it over. And it's a Leksand pattern in non-traditional Leksand colors, but they do some red and white. They do a lot of black and white. This was on one of those rigid heddles with the long pattern slots. This is a very quick and easy pattern to weave, very effective on those. And this is one more of that. Sometimes it's referred to as type 1, sort of the rep type. And then this one also on a long slot rigid heddle. You see the pattern threads are red all the way across, but sometimes you pick up the outsides and sometimes you pick up the middles. Ooh, this one. This is done with sewing thread, and the pattern was the 16-2 cotton, the beige. And these patterns, we have a couple of books that are amazing collections of these very intricate band patterns, the Leksand patterns. And this one, it was an experiment a long time ago on a band loom, years ago, and I was exploring how to weave patterns on a band loom. And now I've finally followed through, and we have a tool to do that with. And then this one here is linen on a rigid heddle. Here's plain weave on a floor loom. Not that you couldn't do this on a rigid heddle. And so we're just going to keep these bands moving. Ooh, here they go. You see the table moving down below. So we can keep going. It's the band conveyor belt. This is that Leksand pattern in just some heavier yarn. A very bold, beautiful pattern. And that was a lot of pattern threads on a rigid heddle. Let's look at the back. See, this one looks very different on the back, and which is the back and which is the front? Not really exactly sure. They're both pretty good. And this is exploring. We can look at the length of this one because I played around with different pickup patterns throughout the length of this. And I did this on our Vävstuga band loom. A really very, very easy pickup style. This is a Mura band pattern. So on the band loom, but with the Mura band set up, and we have the Mura band book. If you need help with that, we would be delighted to have you here for a special Mura band session. This was done on a floor loom, but it could also be done on the rigid heddle or our band loom very easily. And then this, you see it looks very different on the back, is is that type 1 again. And this one's fun. It's got the chevron, which is a very easy pattern to pick up, and then plain weave in between. So this is kind of a quick but really effective use of that patterning technique. And these patterns keep going, just more pickup bands, typically done on the rigid heddle, but could be done on our band loom. And this is another Lexund pattern in the red and white, not quite as fine as that other one we saw. And here's linen. And these colors, the band looks nice, but the colors are so close together. The pickup was difficult on a rigid heddle, but it would be easier on some of the other systems that I've developed. And this is just different. This is kind of an interesting technique. I'm not going to go into detail too much. That's a 3-thread pattern, just a 3-thread on a diagonal. There's some little hearts. Oh, and this is nice. This is a lace linen in the warp and the mobilota in the weft. I mean in the pattern warp. So it's a linen and the wool. I like the mobilota yarn for a lot of these bands. In fact, that's what this plain weave band is, but you can do them in cotton. And cotton. This is 8/2 cotton, and just 5 pattern threads in this one. So it's pretty effective what you can do even with just 5 pattern threads. There they are. And then this was a few more pattern threads, little pink hearts. And then this one was my first experimental band for when I was designing the pattern spreader for our Vävstuga band loom, which I'm about to show you because we're pretty excited about it. So here is our Vävstuga band loom. You can see I've started weaving a little bit of a patterned band there, and it's got an ankle style shedding system. So we have half heddles here, really textile heddles just folded in half, the regular size. The shed goes up and down that way. And then back here, I've got my pattern threads through this spreader, and I can easily pick my pattern. And so if I lift, I can make a shed that way, or I can pull these down and make a shed this way. It's so easy to weave these pattern bands. And I even have a place here to keep the little pattern so that you can keep track of where you are. We're very excited about our band loom, and we hope that you're tempted. This is our Vävstuga band loom, designed and manufactured by us. We've set up a little band warp that's going to be compatible with the towel that we wove on that blue and purple towel warp. And it's got a treadle. It doesn't have to have a treadle, but for this purpose we're using a treadle. And I decide which shed we're in. We're in this shed. And we get to weave back and forth with this little quill. You can see the treadle mechanism that works to make a shed with our ankle style shedding system, meaning that we have these heddles here that are in a fixed position, and that's one layer of threads. The other layer of threads is on the treadle, so it goes above the threads in the fixed position and then below the threads in the fixed position. Very nice way to weave these little bands. And now we want you to have a close look at the hand position that makes this a very efficient way to weave. Watch how we pass this little shuttle back and forth, which is one of our smallest quills. My thumb slides across the top. And here to come back, my thumb slides across the top. Notice that my fingers slide underneath, going both directions. There's very little hand movement. So I'm not bringing my hand up here. I'm not bringing my hand down here to get it. My thumb stays on top, fingers underneath. And you don't have to worry about needing extra fingers to grab this end because it's wedged in there. I can let go and grab it on this end. Not a problem. Lift it up, same thing going this way. I can stuff this in the shed, let go, bring my hand around the band and catch it on the other side. If you get this movement down, your weaving will go pretty quickly and efficiently. And you're just going to want to be weaving bands all day, maybe all night, or maybe not. But you can see how quickly we can make enough band here for a little towel tab. All I need is about 3 or 4 inches, 10 centimeters. And we're just about there. And then we'll show you how to insert this towel tab into your towel when we do the hem. I'm going to advance the warp a little bit so I can loosen here and just wind it forward. Let that ratchet down and tighten a little bit at the front. Raise my heddles up a little bit and we're ready to do a little bit more. I pretty much have enough. You see how I'm pushing down with the knife to make the shed bigger? And I can lift up there. You can use the knife to make that shed opening a little bigger if you need to. I'm pushing down. Here I'm lifting up. So it's stuff, tug. This tug is what makes your band the right width. It tugs the selvage a little bit. Change and whack. Stuff, tug, change, whack. Stuff, tug, change, whack. You can say that to yourself during this whole process, if it helps. I think we have enough band here for our towel. And next we're going to show you how to put this into your towel when you sew the hem.